Okay, hello friends, hello. I know that I promised you this video on short rows a long time ago, but hey, I'm finally doing it, and it turns out there's a lot of different ways to make short rows. I'm going to talk you through as many as I can remember. I found as many as 7 when I was like digging around. I tend to use the wrap and turn method the most. That's not necessarily the best one, it's just a fairly easy one. It's easy for me to remember, so I tend to use it a lot. But I explored some other options, and I'm going to show you all of the different ways that I found to do short rows. And when we do short rows, most of the time we are looking at short rows on sock heels. This is one of my socks. This is one of my designs, but it's also a sock that I wear. Charlie has now crawled on my lap, so if you see a random cattail, that's why. I'll be evicting him very soon. But anyway, you use it on the heels of your socks right in this area so that you can create a cup, right? Because your heels are round, they're not flat. That way you can create the shape that you need so that your heel fits in nicely. So that's a very common place where short rows are used. Another place will be the bust area. Yes, hi Charlie. So you might see short rows used in the bust shaping to give you just a little more space across your chest. Sometimes you'll see short rows used in shawls because it helps with the shaping so it sits on your shoulders better. So there are many times when you may see a short row used. Sometimes it's used as a design feature even so that you can keep certain color segments together. There's like, I hope that it's not overpowering this, but there's a helicopter over my head, so lots of fun. Anyway, so I am going to turn the camera down and we're going to take a look at a lot of different ways to do short rows, and yeah, there's a lot of them. So we'll see how many I can remember and do properly in this video today. We'll count them off as we go along. All right, ready? Let's go. All right, friends, let's start with short row method 1. Short row method 1 is where we just leave a gap. And most knitting patterns are not going to call for this, and I'm going to show you why. So when you get to the point where you are going to wrap and turn, or make your short row, I should say, where you get to the point where you're going to make your short row, instead of wrapping and turning a stitch like we would in a lot of other short row methods, you are just going to turn. Now, the reason why this isn't a great method is that it is going to leave a pretty big gap in your work. So when we get back to this, you can see here I've worked to that stitch and there's a gap. So now we will knit all the way across and we'll take a look at that. So that was just, we worked to the point where we needed to work our short row, and then we just turned around. And the reason this isn't a great method is because there is going to be a gap in our knitting right here. So there's this big gap. So this is not ideal. We could have mitigated this gap a little bit by slipping our stitch, but this is a very basic, not that great method. So now, let's look at another method. We're going to do this one on the purl side, but the idea is the same. And the reason we're going to do that over here is so we can sort of build our fabric back up. Okay, so you work to the point where you have your gap. And I am on the purl side. This is the same idea for the knit side. You're going to take your yarn, whichever direction it's in, and you're going to move it from front to back or back to front. You just have to move it in the opposite direction. And this is called the wrap and turn methods. This is method 2. This is wrap and turn. And you are going to slip your stitch, wrap your stitch, move it back around, and turn your work. So this is the wrap and turn method, and what that will do is it will create a little collar around the base of your stitch. So it's right down here. It's at the base of our stitch. And when you come back to this stitch and you are ready to work it again, what you're going to do is you will you have two options. This is like 2A and 2B. So here we are, we're back to the point where we had wrapped our stitch. Here's our wrap down around the base of our stitch. You can leave this wrap around the base of the stitch and you will always see it. It's a very simple wrap and turn. In lace knitting especially, it's going to disappear more. In this chunky knitting, it's going to be seen more readily because it depends on the size of the yarn that you're using. So you can just go ahead and purl this stitch and keep going and leave that wrap around the base of your stitch, or we can pick this up and we can purl two together or knit two together. And what that is going to do is it's going to leave a bit of a loop of yarn right here around the neck of our stitch. So here was our just turn it around and go back, and we've got a big gap. And here we've got a wrap and turn where we've lifted it up onto that stitch and we have knit those stitches together. And both of those are decent methods, but another way that we can do this is to make, let's see, so that was one method, two methods. This is method 3, so we're going to talk about the Japanese short row. So with a Japanese short row, we are going to work 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, we're going to work to the point where we want our short row to be. So this is our gap area. And then you are going to take a spare piece of yarn, or from the tin of mini stitch markers, a stitch marker. And I mean, I have so many of them, we'll just grab one. That'll be hard to see. Here, we'll get that one. Any kind of stitch marker. It can be a plastic one, it can be the metal kind, it can be, again, a piece of scrap like yarn, no big deal. And we are just going to take our little stitch marker and wrap it around our working yarn and leave it right here. And then we are going to slip this first stitch on the way back. And the reason that we're going to slip this stitch is it's going to make it tighter. So it's going to make that gap a lot tighter when we come back to work it again. And all of these methods are leading you up towards a smaller and smaller gap in between your stitches. So this is method 3, because we did like 1 and then 2A and 2B. So this is method 3. When you come back to that gap and you're ready to work it, then you are going to take the yarn. Let me work this one. We're going to work this stitch. This is the slip stitch. We're going to work this one. But now we are going to pick up our wrap. And it's important that when you pick up this wrapped stitch here, you've got the short side, which will be coming out of the base of your stitch, and you have the long side, which was actually used to create the stitch below this one on the needle. So you want to make sure that you put it on your needle so that the long side is on the front and the short side is on the back. And now I'm going to remove my stitch because this is easier for me. You will knit two together or purl two together in with the next stitch and finish out your row. And now I'm going to work all the way across once. So that we can clean this up again. Alrighty. So there we go. Turn this around. Okay, so we had our gap down here. I suppose I should mark it. Here's the gap. Here is our wrap and turn that we decided to pick up and not allow to sit around the neck of the stitch. Okay. And now back in here, right here, is our, this has been, you know, knit two togethered. This is our Japanese stitch, Japanese short row, like this. Okay, so now method 4. Method 4. So this is called the Sunday short row method because it was invented by Carol Sunday. And when you are doing this short row, let me see, I'll just go to here. You are going to once again mark your gap with some kind of stitch marker or yarn. And you're going to turn around. And the difference here is that you go ahead and you work this first stitch. It's very similar to the Japanese short rows, except that instead of slipping that stitch, you work the stitch. Whoops. Good thing this is sticky wool. There. Okay. And now when we come back to this stitch again, we are going to do the same thing that we did with the Japanese short row, which is we're going to pick this one up and bring it over, and I'm going to take this stitch marker out now. You'll knit two together and finish your row. And then we can go ahead and mark that stitch so that we can see the difference later. So 1, 2, 3, 4 different methods. We're doing pretty good here, running through all of these different methods. One moment while I remove Charlie from my yarn. Okay, so it's purl. I'm going to do just a couple of plain rows to get away from those. Okay, let's see, which methods haven't I done yet? So we did just a regular turn, we did a wrap and turn, and we talked about the 2 different variations on that. We talked about Japanese, we did the Sunday short row. Let's see, oh, German. So we haven't done German short rows. Let's do that on the purl side. Okay, and this is now method 5, where we're going to do German short rows. And the German short rows are very similar to just sort of the wrap method or the turn method, but there's no wrapping involved. You turn your work, you slip 1 stitch, and then, hang on, we slip 1 stitch purlwise, but we have to put the yarn in the front on the knit side, and you pull up, and it will kind of look like a hot mess. And then you're going to knit across, and then when you come back to this stitch on the back side, you now have these 2 stitches that are sitting here, and you're just going to purl 2 together. Purl, purl, purl to finish out your row. And they just kind of disappear into the background. So that would be the knit side version. That would be the knit side version. And then the purl side version is going to be, you will work to the point that you would like your short row. So, you know, again, just gonna work to the point we want our short row. Oops, that stitch marker wants to get in the way. We're just going to ignore that. So here we are. This is like the gap where we want our short row. So now we're going to turn our work first. You will, again, slip that stitch, hang on, this can stay in front. Slip that stitch purlwise, the yarn stays here, hang on, slip that stitch, maybe it goes back. I have to think a minute. Then this comes to the front, that doesn't look right. slip the stitch purlwise, and you have to, pull it up. That's what it is. You pull it up. So you slip the stitch purlwise, you purl this up, you bring this back to the front to work. So you're going to work all your purls across again. That was entertaining, wasn't it? Took me a minute. It's like very intuitive when you're doing it, but then when I have to stop and think about it, it's a little harder. Okay. And now, when we come back to our stitch, you can see it looks like we've got 2 legs here. So now you're just going to knit those 2 together, knit, 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 and there we have finished off. So this was a knit side, and this one was a purl side. So I guess we'll mark it, even though technically we don't need to. And now let me think just a moment. There's 2 more ways that we can do short rows. So we have 2 more wrap and turn methods to talk about, or short row. I should just keep calling them short rows. They're not really wrap and turns if they're short rows. 2 more short row methods to talk about. So the next one we need to talk about is the yarn over method. So for the yarn over method, you work to the point at which you would like to turn. And then you are going to work a yarn over. And usually you would just put in a regular yarn over, but we actually want a backwards yarn over so that it will twist the stitch at the base. So you can see it's going to twist this stitch right here because, oh booger. Usually we want it like this here. So we want it to twist, that's the key. We want it to twist at the base so that it tightens down on that yarn over when we come back to it. So we're just going to make that yarn over. We're going to keep it over here on this needle. I'm going to remove Charlie from the video because he likes to keep putting his face up here where I'm working. So we'll work all the way across. There we go. And then when we come back to this one, then we are going to work that yarn over together with the next stitch across from the gap. So you won't work it with this stitch, you're going to work it across the gap and purl 2 together, and not lose your needle with your 2 stitches on it. Okay, nice. Alrighty, alrighty. So let's see, we're gonna mark that one. So this one does have a little bit of a bar that you're going to see. So that can be a detriment to whatever you are working on. But boy, we're just really getting a lot of different yarn over methods, aren't we? And there was one more. There's one more method where you can actually use lifted increases. So let me see if I remember how to do this correctly. You work to your gap, or the point at which you would like to turn, which is going to be here. And then at this point, you're going to just lift a stitch. Yep, lift a stitch. And then, I can't remember if you slip, well, we're going to slip it. I don't remember if you slip it or not, but we're going to try that. Work here to the end. And now we're going to come back to our short row gap. And of course we have to do something with that stitch again. So we are going to work this lifted stitch with the one next to it. And there we go. We have closed our gap, because really that's the entire point of this, is that we're just trying to close the gap. Boy, that looks like so many different methods. All right, we'll talk through all of those again here in just a second. Let me purl across. If you come up with another short row method, let me know. There may be more out there. These are just all of the different ones that I have found. I can tell you I don't use most of these when I'm knitting. But if I were going to do that, I would probably go with the German short row or just a regular wrap and turn, depending on what I want in terms of the look. All right, so here we go. So this was the basic method. This is just turn, which leaves a hole. So we talked about that. This method was wrap and turn, where we then lifted the wrap. And then the next one that we tried was the Japanese short row. So our Japanese short row is here. And then we did the Sunday short row here. And again, that was named for Carol Sunday, not like the day. Here we have our German short rows, and we have our knit side and our purl side. And they really do, let me move this stitch marker and then we can see it better. They really do disappear in quite nicely. You can see they just kind of melt in. All 4 of these methods work really well for melting in. This was our yarn over method, which again, you can kind of see that there's some extra stuff going on down here. And then the last one was that the twin stitch method, or the invisible increase method, where you are using that invisible increase to close the gap. So there we go. It's 7 different ways that you can do short rows all in one video. Okay friends, so hopefully that was useful to you in some way. I don't know exactly which short row I would use all the time. I do tend to just do the wrap and turn because I'm very familiar with it. I did like that German short row and the Japanese and the Sunday method. All of those disappeared right in. I think that if I fiddled a little bit with that twin stitch method, that I could develop a little better way to close that gap, but it just depends on what you need for whatever you're working on. Oh, I don't know where my sock went there. So a lot of times with the socks, you're just going to kind of work over the gap when you come to it, and you'll, you know, it's knit 2 together, knit 1, and then, you know, you keep going back and forth, back and forth. But it's really up to you which way you use and which one works best for you. So you're the one that's going to make that determination. I can say, you know, grab yourself some chunky yarn, because it's really easy to see in chunky yarn, and some, I think I use size 10 needles here, and go to town, try a bunch of different short row methods, see which one you like. And you know, if you need to, by the way, you can slow down my videos under the settings. There's a half speed option, so that you can slow it down and watch my hands, because I did go through all of these methods pretty quickly. If you want me to, I can break these out into shorter videos later on, but I'm just trying to like crank through what we're supposed to be up to now in, it's all because it's basically September. Oh my gosh. The year has just really flown by. I've been super busy. It's flown by. But there we go. So we've worked our short rows, and now we're mostly back on track for our like our crafty challenge year. And I think the next thing we need to talk about is a spin along. So the spin along is going to get moved to September, because that's just kind of what happened. But I do have lots of fun things coming up. So if you haven't been getting the newsletter, or you aren't checking us out on Facebook and Instagram, I got stuff going on. The first thing is my friend Rendon is going to be vending for me at the Lace Embrace Day for the Lace Makers of, oh, excuse me, sorry, I'm so sleepy, the Lace Makers Guild of Oklahoma. That'll be in Bartlesville, Oklahoma, the first weekend in October, and that's because I will actually be gone. I am going to be in Kentucky that weekend with a rabbit show. So that's kind of what's happening there. And then, let's see, then I think so that's the 7th, so that would be the 14th and the 21st. I think it's the 14th and 15th is not Ozark, is Oregon Flock and Fiber Festival, but I could be wrong on that. The event calendar is up on our website, so please check that, because I could be wrong. And feel free to correct me in the comments too. Like, I can't remember if it's the 14th or if it's that next weekend. Anyway, so that is happening. I think it is the 14th actually. So that'll be Oregon Flock and Fiber Festival, and you will see Tina and Tamra and Laura there. And then after Oregon Flock and Fiber Festival is my retreat. So I'm doing a little retreat up in Wisconsin, Baraboo, Wisconsin, at the 8th and East Craft Retreat Center. I have 8 different classes. You need to sign up for those by October 14th. So class signups are going to close on October 14th so that I know how many students I have for my classes, so that I can make better plans. If you want to, you can just drop in for the day, and Lauren is going to be up there helping me out, so she will be vending when I am teaching. It'll be both of us vending when I'm not teaching, and the vending will be open from like basically 9 a.m. until about 7 p.m. every day, so you can stop by and check it out. And pick up some fun stuff. I will have a full setup with me, so I am planning to pack like an entire shop in my car, because that's just the way that I roll. And if there's something specific that you want, you can of course always do the pickup from Kelly and put the note, you know, of where you're going to be picking it up. So for Lace Embrace, you can say pick up from Kelly, and then in the notes put Lace Embrace, and I will send it to Lace Embrace to be picked up from Rendon. You can do that for Oregon Flock and Fiber Festival with Tina, but because we may have to ship some things, you need to do that at least a week ahead of time. So by October 7th at the very latest, actually earlier than that, by October 5th at the very latest, for Oregon Flock and Fiber Festival, if there's something specific that you want, place your order and do, you know, pick up from Tina and put Oregon Flock and Fiber Festival so she knows to bring it along. And then, let's see, for the retreat, that starts October 24th or 25th, one of those two. I'm so tired and all my days are getting all mixed up. But anyway, make sure that you get your orders in by the 22nd at the very latest for me, so that I can make sure that I have that packed up to go with me up to Wisconsin to Baraboo. And then after that, I have Ozark Fiber Fling. And again, you can always order ahead of time and do that pickup from Kelly, put the note Ozark Fiber Fling on there, and I'll make sure that I bring that along. And that I really have to have by October like 30th, maybe the 31st at the very latest, because again, I just have to make sure that I'm able to pack it and get it to you. But I am teaching again at Ozark Fiber Fling, and I think I can finally say what I'm teaching now. I'm teaching a beginning Babila course. I am teaching a cables, so just a 2-hour class on how to cable, how to design cables, how to play with cables for knitting. And then I'm also doing a class in color theory where we talk about how to mix colors, the difference between hue and intensity and all kinds of stuff, and then how to put them together to design your own fade if you'd like to do a fade type project. Anyway, so that's what we're going to be doing. It'll be a ton of fun, and hopefully I will see you all there. I'm looking forward to it. I would like to see you all there. Anyway, so I hope that this little video, this long video now, on short rows has really been helpful, and I will see you guys next time. Please take care of yourself mentally, physically, emotionally, and craftually. Make sure that you have liked and subscribed to us in all the places so that you can see all of the things that we are doing. And yeah, I'll check in with you guys later. Bye.